remove the chair. I already said I would do it, yeah. I already said, let's just get rid of Ernesto. We won't be able to do anything tonight, so.
Oh my gosh.
But they haven't appointed a no confidence.
Oh, what
No,
did I
not in the news. I thought they had, but.
No, they can't do that.
How am I
They're
doing
gonna do
that?
that.
Crazy in debt.
Because they only have one vote majority.
Do we have Maddie's?
Capsa, pardon?
Is that Maddie? Is there?
No, I think it's, I don't know if we can just introduce her to the second.
Oh, shoot.
James, who's doing it? Oh, remind me of your name?
Kara.
Kara. Shout it out.
It's gotta be brazen, like Amy.
Good to go? Welcome everyone to our Logan Municipal Council meeting. It is 5:30. We're calling this meeting into order. Our first item on our agenda is our opening ceremony by Kara from CAPSA.
Hi everyone, my name is Kara Kim. I'm the Community Relationship Developer at CAPSA, and I'm just going to be talking about some of our services and highlighting Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So at CAPSA, we acknowledge the vital role that each of you plays in shaping our community at large. On behalf of all of our staff at CAPSA and in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are grateful for this opportunity to share valuable information and shed light on the support offered to survivors of domestic violence. Domestic violence is a pervasive issue that affects individuals across all walks of life, regardless of age, gender, or socioeconomic background. Last year, CAPSA supported 327 individuals through emergency shelter, 7,062 through our crisis line, which is about an average of 19 calls per day, and 1,558 individuals through outreach casework. These numbers highlight the urgency of addressing this issue and supporting those affected by it. At CAPSA, our mission is to provide comprehensive services to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, as well as education and prevention efforts to the broader community. We firmly believe in the power of collective action and community support in creating a safe and nurturing environment for all. Our organization offers a range of vital services, and today we wish to highlight our shelter services. Our emergency shelter has 36 beds for individuals fleeing domestic and sexual violence. While in shelter, individuals can work with a team of caseworkers to help remove barriers and connect to therapy for crisis intervention. Children in our shelter are especially considered. Monday through Thursday, our youth advocacy team provides activities and lessons for youth in our shelter. We are so grateful to each member of your city council as your commitment to addressing domestic violence and supporting organizations like CAPSA has made a significant difference in the lives of countless survivors. Together, we are building a community that refuses to tolerate violence and stands in solidarity with those affected. In observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we encourage all community members and leaders to take an active role in ending domestic violence and supporting survivors. This can be done through volunteering and donating, but also through education, awareness, and advocating for change. We couldn't do the work we do without our amazing community. Thank you. You guys, any questions?
Well, I would just like to add that folks may know I'm working with our Bear River Local Homeless Council, and we really appreciate CAPSA's involvement in that and the awareness that you bring to the issue that, you know, for many women, homelessness is caused because of domestic violence. And without you being in place to act as a shelter, as a homeless shelter for those really vulnerable people, our community would be so much worse off. So thank you for doing that hard work, because I know it's not an easy task that you and your staff have, and it's wearing and it's exhausting. But I know that you know you're doing good for so many people. So thanks for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. You said that you have 36 units for shelter. How often are those like full? I mean, what's the
They're constantly full.
constantly?
Yeah, we recognize that with that being full, crisis doesn't wait, so we do have our caseworkers working with landlords and hotels to get those rooms at a discounted rate, and that's covered by CAPSA funding.
And then in addition, you have houses behind the shelter, and you also have 2 apartment buildings for long-term?
So James Ford with CAPSA. We have 2 neighborhoods
and there are 21 units. So one neighborhood has 9 homes. The other neighborhood has 5 single-family homes and a triplex. And then we have a 4-plex that we have exclusive use to, that a donor allows us to use exclusively. So currently we have 21 homes that we have. We also have grants to place families in our community. So about 20 families we're providing subsidized rent to across our community. Our program typically is we pay the first 3 months and over 2 years graduate down. So our whole goal is to create independence. That's why we call our neighborhoods Independence Place and Independence Way. So about last year we had just over 70 families, households that we provided housing assistance or direct housing to.
And the people who are in those in Independence Way and Independence Place are working through a program to gain their independence from and gain strength, and they do counseling and they're learning how to manage money and all of that. Is that is still part of the process?
Yep. So our transitional housing program is a holistic program, and so they have caseworkers, they have therapists, they're working with our youth advocates she mentioned working in the shelter, but they do home visits. Our whole goal is to help them. One story we often think about is we had someone moved in our housing who never had access to funds. And it's very common that women who experience domestic violence, over 90% will experience financial abuse, which often means they don't have access to funds or they are restricted. But she had her caseworker come in, she said, I need help budgeting. And she said, great, where's your bills? And she pointed to a pile in the corner. And it was almost 3 months worth of bills because she never had access to it. She was nervous about it, she didn't know what to do. And she was so worried that I'm about to get collections evicted. And so our caseworker met her where she's at and helped her from there. We've actually proactively added a caseworker who's focused on financial empowerment. So Alta Bank is providing curriculum, so we're now using their curriculum. So once they go into our shelter, we're starting to meet with them, and then that naturally transitions into housing. So it really is a program designed, when they move out of our housing program, we're hoping they're not moving into another assistance, but they're independent and on their own is our program design.
It's wonderful.
That's great.
I also understand that you have multiple Spanish speakers in your team.
We do. We have a dedicated employee that focuses on underserved population who speaks Spanish herself. But we don't just limit it to Spanish. We work with CRIC very closely. We do cooperative things, so we do some joint education. They utilize our building oftentimes because of space limitations. They'll come and do clinics at ours. We work with helping assist them, but also we work with LGBT. We've done cooperative grants with the Cash Pride Center. Our goal is just to meet people where they're at and help. Even individuals with mental or physical disabilities, we meet them where they're at. We have a cooperative grant with Options for Independence, where we have a therapist that spends part of her time there, just because if you feel safe somewhere, we want to make sure you still have access to services. So we're doing a lot to cooperate and partner with as many organizations as possible.
And CAPS is not limited to just women.
Yes, ma'am. We're not limited to just women. We know 1 out of 5 non-binary will experience domestic violence in their lifetime, and 1 out of 4 men will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. Last year we had, I think it was 14% of our individuals served were men. I don't have the none off the top of my head.
That's okay.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Will one of you be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'm going to let Kara.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for all that you guys do in the community.
Next in our agenda, we have the acceptance of the minutes and the approval of the agenda for tonight.
I would like to say that Teresa asked us to read it carefully, and I did, and I have several corrections. And I wondered if it would be possible for me to give those to Esley and have us approve the minutes next time.
Well, I got my changes in on time, but I will certainly agree.
I've been spanked, so to speak.
One demerit for you.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
So is that a motion?
That would be my motion to delay approval till next meeting.
Continue the approval of the previous minutes for the
Yes.
next meeting?
Yes.
Do we have a motion for approving the agenda for
second.
tonight?
I'll second.
Okay,
And I will move to approve the agenda.
And
Okay.
I'll second that.
all right. So there's two motions, 2 seconds. Do you get it all? All right. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against, please say nay. We have our agenda for tonight, and we'll continue the approval of the minutes for our next meeting. Next in our agenda, we have just a reminder that our meetings, our council meetings, are the first and the third Tuesday of every month at 5:30, and our next meeting will be on October 17th. Now is the time for anybody in the public, in the audience, that wishes to address the council or the mayor and her staff on items that are not on the agenda for tonight. If you'd like to comment on any of those items that are not on the agenda, please come up to the mic and state your name and your place of residence, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less.
I'll do it.
I'm Josh Mahler from Logan, Ellis District. I just want to read something to you from the Department of Justice or the Cornell Law School that I've been researching here. Has to do with the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 5, Part 2638, Section 702. It concerns the misuse of position. An employee may not use his public office for his own private gain or for that of persons or organizations with which he is associated personally. An employee's position or title should not be used to coerce, to endorse any product, service, or enterprise, or to give the appearance of governmental sanction. Last week when I was at the school board meeting, there was a employee, which when they say employee, they're talking about elected officials or anybody that is hired into an agency, just so you know. But I witnessed the soliciting for the Woodsonia group with the with the proposal that you guys have already passed here, with the with the tax, the mall project, basically, with all of that. But yeah, I think that I don't believe that there's anywhere within the Federal Register or anything that's been approved with the Regulatory Flexibility Act that states that a federal or an employee is able to solicit in favor of a company. Another thing here that I'm concerned about is also dealing with the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 5, Section 2638, Part 2638, Section 704. An employee should recognize her responsibility to protect and conserve government property and resources, and to make an honest effort to use official time in government property only for official business use. Now, I may be wrong, but I think taxes, people's taxes are included into the resources of this. And I think that using people's taxes, that 5% increment that you want to use, to help fund this Woodstonia, the mall project is actually gross abomination to this, to our
Thank you, Joshua.
regulations.
Looks like our time is up for this.
Matthew Potowski. Forgot to ask last time, but do I have permission to swear if I feel like it?
No.
Cool. All right, you should probably check into purity politics, by the way, as far as what that has to do with the current state of the world. Anyways, I'm just here to tentatively say I give up. I started coming here because I thought it was the best way to get an audience with you all and to actually start pointing out some things that really need to start having attention drawn to them. But I even got my hopes up too when you guys asked to make sure that I had my contact information on the list, thinking that somebody would reach out eventually, but months later nobody has. There's still no discourse, so that's why I ended up running for, or one of the reasons why I ended up running for council election too, just so that I could have the time and everything to actually iterate some of my points and everything like that, because it's hard to do that in a 3-minute time span as we've just seen. Anyways, so seeing as there's no interest in holding a conversation with this member of the community, to that end, I'm going to funnel my efforts elsewhere, and it doesn't mean that it's the last time I'll be showing up here. It's just going to be in a different capacity, I'm sure. If anything, I will probably be bringing to bear to you how definitely inadequate all of you are at addressing anything outside of issues that affect you and those better than you, who you wish to aspire and emulate as. Anyways, before I go though, one last jab I would like to make is to comment that you consider how far you guys can actually fall, whether medically, professionally, or otherwise, and try to realize that you can be put there on a whim, whether it's like an accident or an injury or something like that, and how there's very little baseline stuff in place, and how maybe you are inherently fearing that and choosing to ignore those kinds of problems. And then as a final bit of guidance slash homework for you all that you can buy or not, I suggest slash demand that you consider what unique knowledge of private businesses you bring to the table that you can share freely with everybody, so they aren't beholden to the dehumanizing profit motive of the private industry. Whether that's how banks work in the modern day, so we can return to public banks like tobacco and the post office handled many ubiquitous tasks, or seeing what policies and people would be needed to allow for public businesses and practices similar to how Chicago is looking into a municipal grocery store, or how a town in Florida actually managed to pull that off. Anyways, that's it for me. So try not to sell me and my fellow students to private equity while I'm away. Anyway, have a good time.
Thank you, Matthew. Just as a reminder, any member of our community can email us at any time. If it's something that's going to take more than 3 minutes to express, feel free to email us, and we'd be happy to respond through email as well. Anybody else that wishes to address the council or the mayor?
I would add, Ernesto, our phone numbers are also on the
Yes,
city
of
website
course.
too, so always open to people to giving us a call if they have a question or a concern.
I have something to say.
Someone call me?
3 minutes is done.
I just barely started, Tom. Mark Anderson, Logan. I just wanted to come and thank the staff and the mayor for your support for the Pumpkin Festival. So the Center Street Pumpkin Festival was last weekend, and it was amazing turnout. And we worked with Power, we worked with Public Works, we worked with Environmental, we worked with Community Development, and we also worked with Parks and Recs. And the staff was wonderful to work with. They were amazing. They were so helpful. They helped us learn what we needed to do to make it happen. They were great when it came to suggestions, and they were there when we needed them. So I just want to say thank you so much. It turned out to be a great event, and we couldn't have done it without the city's help. Thank you.
It was a great time, Mark.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Anybody else that would like to?
Hi, my name is Maggie Mace. I'm the City Council Director for the Government Relations Council at USU. And I just wanted to say, you all have been so great at responding to emails, reaching out to us, being able to have a contact point here at City Council. We're super excited to be able to work with you all in the future, and you all have been so great in everything that we've done so far as students at USU. And I really just wanted to thank you for all that you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll go to our next item, and that's mayor and staff reports. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I actually have one additional item to what's on the agenda. We have a board reappointment for the Logan River Golf Advisory Board. I think you've all had a chance to read that resume, so we just like ratification of that name, again, reappointment. So I'll do that, and then I have one other quick item to mention.
I'm on the Golf Course Advisory Board. Carol has served well, and so I would move that she be reappointed.
How long are the terms for that board?
Are they 3 years? 2 years?
I think 2 years.
2 years.
But I'm not positive.
I would second that.
And she wants to.
Yes, she opted to re-up. Again, this is a volunteer position.
Some people actually like serving.
Well, it's just, sometimes you want to make sure they were asked, right? It was
Oh, yeah.
not voluntold.
Voluntold.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay.
Great. The other item I wanted to mention is that after a couple of years of planning, we have successfully separated Logan City garbage collection from the other communities in the county. And I think the transition went exceptionally well. Again, our environmental department worked very hard in negotiating with the new companies to make sure they had, the routes they needed, the information they needed, worked through the transition. We sold them cans, we sold them excess equipment. And I also just have to give a shout out to our employees, because over the last months, our employees have been working a tremendous amount of overtime because we knew we were downsizing. So as positions naturally, became vacant, we didn't want to fill those positions and then have to lay people off. So again, our employees worked a great deal of overtime to get, things picked up in a timely manner until we made the transition. So, maybe a couple of streets that got missed yesterday, but generally a very, very, considering a county-wide change, and that will, affect our budget going forward. We certainly won't have as much to transfer, but we feel like we're just serving Logan citizens. Providence asked us to continue providing their collection for an additional few months until they can purchase a truck. They intend to do their own collection. So again, we did agree to, serve them. We have a contract to do that for an additional few months. But again, shout out to the environmental department for a really orderly transition. And again, we just want everyone to be successful. So we were certainly very proactive in trying to make sure that happened for all the other cities. And it seems to have taken place.
Are the feelings smoothed over? There was a few people.
For the most part, again, I've had people say, we know it was a business decision, and, they moved forward and they got it done. And so I think people are, and again, they're in charge of their own destiny now. So I think we're in a good place.
I like it.
That ended our collaboration of how many years?
40?
Wow.
It was 40.
40. I think the landfill's been 60, and then the collection's been about 40. So again, and I have had some folks reach out and say, thank you for doing it for that long, for providing really good service at a really good rate. And so good. As growth happens, there have to be some transitions, and this was one that, as you know, we've worked with you over the whole process as well. So that has taken place, just so you're aware.
I think the only bump I've heard is green waste, but that's not, that's an issue with the cities and their provider. but-
Right, and we'll be sorting that out in the future because as green waste, comes to the landfill, there may need to be, a different charge for that for everyone that brings it. So ESA's currently, they're in the middle of a rate study, and that's one thing they're taking a look at. So we'll be coming back to the council as we get more information on that.
Good.
I have seen on social media a couple of comments that were made that Logan City spoiled people for the new company that's been hired that had some complaints. They were like, well, you all have been, we've been spoiled by Logan City, so.
They wanted their garbage, they wanted the person who had always picked up their garbage and would talk to their children and, all that
So
stuff.
it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't realize that areas were choosing to not do recycling. So that seems to have been an issue, that recycling is not readily available across the county now with the contracts that other people have written.
So again, it may come to the landfill. Obviously, they will, pay more at the landfill because it's done by tonnage, if it's coming. But again, you don't have the opportunity to divert that. But we'll see how things go in the future.
Thank you,
That's
Mayor.
all.
Thank you.
That was a lot of work, and all environmental, and you all need to be commended for how hard it was. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, again, the environmental department especially. So.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you. And just to, I don't know if I said it clearly, and I don't know if I needed to state it clearly, but we did ratify Carol Denniston for the board. So, yeah. Next up, we have our action items. Oh, sorry, no. Council business, commission update. Sorry.
Yes, Planning Commission. They looked at 2 items last Thursday, and I know that most of you who drive down First East have seen a very weedy field with a now hidden steeple in the back corner where there used to be a church. That was purchased by Dr. Thornley, a dentist, and he has, the proposal was put forward. He has sold the back half of that property to the L59 project, and they will be putting a 12-plex facing 2nd South, right behind Joanne's, and behind that they will be putting a pool and some amenities for the apartment complex. And on the First East half of the property, Dr. Thornley will be building a dental office building. And then the second item, Willow Ski Lakes requested a zone change of a parcel Phase 5, 12.5 acres, from NR6 to mixed use. That item was recommended for denial by the planning staff, and the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation of denial to us, and we will be doing our due diligence on that in a few weeks.
So mixed use, not multifamily.
Mixed
is what
use.
they asked for.
Was there a recommendation for denial also?
Yes, they forwarded a recommendation for denial to us, but we will workshop it and make the decision beyond that.
How did that discussion go on the first item that you were talking about? The dental.
I was late, and I understand that it was heated. So,
Heated from the perspective of the members of the commission or from public input?
public input. It was heated. That's all because I wasn't there, that's all I could really say about it.
That will not be coming to city council, though.
No, we rezoned it.
Yeah, we rezoned
Because
it
it was
already. Yeah.
It was rezoned to TC2, and so the division of the property and the 12-plex and the pool and the dental office were all.
It all fits.
It was all fit within the zone, so it was just a project review.
So I know this is one of the things when this came before us with the zone change was the concern with
Yeah.
looking at a project and changing a zone because somebody says they're going to do the project and then things change, so. It just
That's
kind
why I
of,
voted, that's why I voted against it.
that's why it reinforces that
Yeah.
concern when,
I still think it should be TC2, no matter what project they bring,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
the problem is the neighborhood heard this is what's being
Going
approved,
in,
even
yeah.
though it's the zone, so.
well, they heard what the owner planned to build. And he is building what he said he was going to build. He's only just doing it on half of the property.
How many stories is the 12plex that they,
It will be 3 stories? 3 stories.
similar to the townhomes that?
It'll be similar to the townhomes, but it will be more like L59 in look. So it won't have that townhouse feel to it. So it'll have an apartment complex feel.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeannie. Okay, now we have action item, one action item. It's a public hearing for budget adjustments, and looks like Rich morphed into somebody else.
I was going to say, Rich said, I'm the only action item, I'm out of here.
Well, thanks for being here, Ruben.
It's actually nice to have a break of our auditors here this week, so it's kind of nice to actually.
You're not complaining,
I'm
though.
not complaining, yeah. Any questions about any of these items? They're from grants, so $15,000 for
Last time.
EMS supplies, and then $69,390 for dispatch, and then $150,000 for Parks and Rec for the bridge.
Is that what they're working on now? Do you know? I don't know.
No, the bridge
Trapper's
is, the bridge,
closed.
I know, it is closed. With the flooding this spring, it did some damage to kind of the grass and,
Oh, okay.
I mean, they were going to asphalt the parking lot and so on. So the bridge is just, I mean, it's not designed. So with these grants, we'll actually be able to go to design. So maybe next summer we can get it built, but
Okay. I just know a lot of people have asked why Trapper Park is closed, and I didn't know the answer, so.
yeah. Actually, oh, Russ is here. He can
Russ
tell
is
us
here.
and this how long he thinks it will be.
He was like, how are they going to
And
get
this
up?
is a matching grant. We have to put in, we have to match the 150. Okay.
The Miro's on a roll. Yes, it's closed because we're regrowing the turf from the damage we had from the spring runoff.
Oh, okay.
And then work that was interrupted because of spring runoff, they're finishing now. And so the trail's open to Trapper Park,
Yes.
but not the park.
I've been there.
Good for you.
The dog
Walking
walk.
that dog, yep. Walking that dog.
But again, you're hoping the design of the bridge will take place over the winter.
Yeah, we're actually in design now with the county RAPS tax that we received. So the grant that Ruben is referring to has an environmental component in it. And so we have to do that environmental study, which is taking place this winter. We don't expect to have issues with that. And then we'll put the bridge out for bidding in this winter, this spring.
So will that bridge connect to, what will it connect to?
It will cross the river, which will allow us to access the 47 acres of open space that we put the conservation easement on. Again, it's kind of about a 300-foot wide swath that follows the river.
Right.
So again,
But it won't have any kind of a trail in it, will it?
it will eventually when we have the budget to do it.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have any money budgeted for that. The developer of the Willow Lakes has said they will put some money toward that. Again, we'll probably apply for some future grants, but that'll be kind of, again, an exciting extension to the trail once we get the bridge done and get it built. We'll be-
Theoretically, could that trail then go west and then north?
It will go northwest a little bit more and extend the length of the trail, but again, it will stop at some point because we don't have right-of-way all the way to the 6 South Park. I mean, that would be the eventual goal, is to connect the trail to the 600 South Park. It could also, I mean, the point, what we will do first is, again, the easement goes from a little bit north of Trapper Park all the way east to 10th West. So it will go there. Again, I don't know if eventually, way down the road, when we have the money, we could do another bridge there so you could get back across the river and make that trail section into a loop, which would be nice. But let's get the first bridge done first.
It's
Yeah.
exciting to see all of the trails and the capacity for recreation that we are creating within the city.
And again, the
using all those
current
trails.
trail on the south side of the river, we simply have an easement to do the trail. We don't have the right to access the river or anything there. So on the north side, we do have the easement that goes right down to the river. So part of the trail will be creating some pathways for people to get down to the river to enjoy that. And again, that hasn't been designed yet as far as the trail and so on. But
It's an evolving process, but it's exciting that it's evolving.
exactly, one step at a time.
Yep.
This is a pedestrian bridge only, correct? Or is it small vehicles?
Well,
Maintenance.
small vehicles only for
Maintenance.
maintenance and so forth, but
And it's one of the Corchen steel bridge.
yes, I mean, it would match what we have currently on the
The Gulf
Logan River
Coast.
system.
Yeah, those are good.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah, these guys have been great at getting grants and then thus leveraging funds we have to do good projects, so.
Well, I remember when we started the trail project long ago, and it's really exciting to see it grow.
I have an open public.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, yeah.
All right, this is a public hearing. If you'd like to comment on this specific item on the agenda, please come up to the mic, state your name and your place of residence, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Gail is not here.
Who's up?
I know.
Where's Gail?
Where's Gail?
All good.
Yeah.
Next time.
We'll bring it back to the council.
I'll move acceptance of resolution 23-42.
And I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against, please say nay. Resolution 23-42 passes. That's it for our action items. And next up, we have a couple of workshop items. First up, we have Resolution 23-41, and it's a resolution supporting the board appointment of the Cache Valley Transit District. And we have Todd
Butler.
Butler, sorry.
It's all right.
Forgive me.
Thank you for allowing me some time on the agenda to talk about this. Just a little background. This particular section of code in the Utah Code hadn't been changed in well over 25 years. And it was really structured back then for UTA. And so the code was written in such a way back then as well that really the only service provided was what we call fixed routes, where we have a set route and you know the number of times the bus is going to run that route. And so it was based on the number of service miles for the coming year. You would project out what those service miles would be, and that's how you would determine the board apportionment or the membership on the board. Since that time, we now have new service, what we call on-demand service, kind of like Uber Share, if you will, where people can either call us and schedule a ride, or they can schedule through an app, and it's on demand. And so it's really hard to project that mileage because it just depends on how the service is used. Also, since that time, there's been a couple transit districts created outside of UTA. There was ourselves, and then Summit County created a transit district as well. And they started out with mostly just on-demand service. They've since added some fixed route service, but so the code really didn't allow for us to properly address those changes. And so Summit County folks at the transit district came to us and said, hey, we want to make a change to this. We said we would be open to that. So we kind of worked together and got with Senator Wilson and got a legislative attorney to help us start drafting that. So what the resolution does is it would change the apportionment. The state code changed the board membership, basically saying that it can be between 5 and 9 members, but it's up to the legislative councils to determine how that membership is determined. And so our board, we have current board member, Councilwoman Simmons, met and over several months spent time coming up with a recommendation to the councils of how that apportionment should be, and that's really what's contained in the resolution. Part of that discussion was, how do you do that? What do we do? And previously we had this 19-member board, and we had a representative from every city that was within the district, but those representatives made up a third of the vote in some areas and whatnot. And so the way that the board kind of came to this apportionment is Logan City will always kind of be the hub of the valley when it comes to public transit. It will be the center, and so it should have a larger number of members on the board. And so it was determined that let's go with 9 members is kind of where the board came up with that recommendation. They said, let's have 4 represent Logan, and then we can have 5 representing the other various communities. But those members kind of group together, and so while they'll pick 1 representative to represent that group, that they'll represent 2 or 3 cities, depending on how that goes. And so that's kind of how that apportionment was determined. One thing that I tell all the cities, and I think the board has been a shining example of just cooperation and looking at the transit system as a whole. When it comes to transportation and mobility, people really don't care about the jurisdiction. They just want to get to where they want to go, whether that's employment, whether that's shopping, whether that's home. And so you have people in the community in the valley that may live in Providence but work in Logan, or may go to school at Utah State. And the board's always been really good about looking at the constituents as a whole. They look at the whole valley, the mobility of the system as their constituents. And so that's really part of this as well, is just an understanding that this new board, I envision, will still be the same way. And obviously, it's going to make sense that Logan's going to have more service. This is where more of the population is, the workforce. But we want to make sure that we're connecting the whole valley to make mobility really function well. So with that, I entertain any questions about the resolution.
How many votes does Logan currently have with the board, the way it's set up?
So currently, there's a 19-member board, and Logan has 8 members on that, 8 full votes on that board.
So what we did was pare it down to the third of a vote. We put 3 towns together and gave them 1 person and 1 vote. And then we pared ours down proportionally. And there was some concern in the beginning, but I said I felt that 3 mayors could talk to each other and choose a person. And sure enough, they can.
So proportionally, we have the same number of votes as we
Yes.
had previously.
Yes.
Right.
I think that it was weird the way you used to have it, because we had 8 full votes, and then the rest of the people only had a partial vote. So you would have had to, it was you had a lot of people there, but they didn't, they had to all vote together to make it work. And this way, I think it'll be more work for the board, because 9 people, you got to have 9 people working hard to make the transit district work. But I think it's a functional size and a functional representation of the service area.
I think it's more manageable.
Yeah.
And, there's 5 votes from the non-Logan, so in a sense, there's a balance there.
So, questions? Thank you.
So I have a non-apportionment question though. How's the construction going up North Logan for
Well,
this?
it's probably like your construction going, right? It's progressing. We're probably, honestly, I don't like to admit it, but we're probably maybe 2 months behind. We still think we can recover the schedule,
Okay.
but the wet spring really helped us out. We've still been getting rain, but you know, we're getting close. We're hoping to be tipping walls at the end of this month.
Yeah, they're building the walls and they're just gonna tilt them up.
Yeah, so, and I would also like to say, we get to work a lot with Logan City staff, with the mayor, even with you. And it's just a fantastic thing. We really do appreciate the support we feel from the staff, and it's a great, we feel very a part of this community and have a say in how things go, and we really appreciate that.
And Todd's been really good about communicating through this process, even before it went to the legislature, just making sure I was appraised of, you know, what was coming and got my input. So we, again, it goes both ways, so thank you as well.
Good partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we vote on that next time, right? Thank you.
Next up, we have our last workshop item, more budget adjustments by Ruben.
Yeah, so the first one is a federal grant. This is just additional funds from HUD for CDBG. You see them out there, 13,464. And so that would be, they have a project associated with that. But additional, we've already received some for fiscal year 24. This would be additional, they awarded for us. So. And then 8,080, this is from the state of Utah. Yeah, specific questions, Karen probably help you, but this is for the library. It's to support the library interlibrary loan program. My understanding is that's a pretty good program. A lot of people take advantage of that, enjoy that. And so additional funding with that is great. Not a lot of requirements on our side, except spending money. And then the last one is $1 million from the electric fund reserves towards second dam settlement.
Which we knew was coming up.
And that one, as you know, so we can run the hydro, it doesn't, sediment doesn't damage the.
So how come Mark's always like, you know, 7, 8, 9 figures, and Karen is like 3 figures, 4 figures,
yeah.
I don't know. Reading is really important, but I know we need light to do it, so.
Ruben, with the HUD CDBG, we allocated money already, so will this just do it proportionally?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they usually.
I think there was wasn't there a receiver project? I think you all designated a receiver project if any additional funding came in, so that already is taken care of.
Okay.
So Mark, is this enough for that project? Where is this based on bids?
You said it was a little less than we anticipated.
Yeah, we put it out to bid to 3 or 4 companies that we know do this work. A couple of them, I don't know if they just don't have time, but we received one bid for $5.7 million and one bid for $899,000. And when we examined that, we're like, somebody is either hosing us or somebody doesn't know what they're doing. And so we did a little bit of investigation on the company that gave the lower bid. It looks, they're a very large national company, and they look like they
know what they're doing. Yeah.
So in fact, they were kind of like, why do you need $5.7 million for that?
Yeah.
Mark, when there's
They
such,
didn't want to do it.
That's why we bid things.
in my experience in bidding, when there's such a discrepancy, it means the documents may not have been clear. Is that the case here?
No, I think as we've examined
pretty clear.
methodologies that they use, this other company, they kind of specialize in this kind of stuff. They do it on the East Coast and the ocean and large bodies of water, swamps. So they really kind of, and they have their methodology is much more efficient than this other company. So I think they just don't spend as much money as it can happen. So it's good.
Wow.
I've never, usually you're like, crap, this is going to cost too much. So we're quite thrilled. In fact, we're hopeful that maybe third dam, when it comes time to remove sediment, won't look nearly as ominous as we anticipate.
We don't have the issues with second dam sediment that we have in third dam sediment.
Well, we do. It's incredible to see how much second dam filled in this year with this high runoff. And we, as Mayor mentioned earlier, we've been unable to run the hydros on this record-breaking water year because we just couldn't keep the stuff out of the screens.
No, I just meant, there was some discussion at some point that the ground that was under was owned by the Forest Service?
This is true for both hydros.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They want
Forest
the
Service
soil that we pull out still.
Yeah. It's really fun getting approvals through all the agencies that have their fingers in this pie, but we just work at it.
So is the timing for those going to work to be able to get the work done?
I think so. We had a kickoff meeting for the sediment removal. We're waiting for FERC approval. FERC told us it'd be 60 days. It's a
90 days ago?
Well, first they gave us an approval email because they're like, oh, it's maintenance. Here's your approval. Go ahead. And then when we had this kickoff meeting with all the agencies, FERC said, well, just because we gave your approval doesn't mean it's approval. You need to submit documents and we'll look at it for 60 days and then give you approval. I'm like, what are you talking about? So, but we believe that I'm going on faith that it's going to come by the time this company is ready to stage and has equipment moved here.
Okay. We'll hope as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Hey, Karen, is this 8,000 just a portion of what you need for the interload library fund, or does this cover all of it?
The $8,000 covers what we do in the state of Utah.
Okay.
It does not cover what we do outside of the state of Utah, including in other countries. So it's about half of what we do on interlibrary loan.
Okay.
It's mainly postage.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? No. Thank you, Ruben. Any other considerations?
I just want to say, I happened to drive when the 3 trucks were on 3rd North and they closed the road, and I was like, HVAC, yes! So I took a picture of part of it and I posted. I never post anything on Facebook. I was so excited because
For the library.
It was just a bluebird day, and they had that huge crane and pieces of HVAC were just getting plunked on the roof.
They had 7 different huge pieces they had to crane up, so.
It was super exciting, even though it was supposed to have been here in March.
Just a short delay, right?
Just a short delay, so.
Tiny delay.
I just wanted to also share in the Parks and Rec board, I don't have all the details with me. They asked to kind of share with the community that they're looking for input for the County Trails Alliance. So if you search County Trails Alliance, you should be able to find a way to give some input on some of the priority projects that they have.
So is this the private nonprofit group, or is this actually Cache County?
I think it's the private.
Okay.
I was hoping that Russ was going to stay here, but he's
Able
gone.
to answer your question.
Any other comments?
Homecoming this week.
Right?
We'll throw candy at you on Saturday. Just like make sure you have like a big umbrella or something so we'll know it's you.
Illegal.
Yeah, we can't throw it from a vehicle. We can throw candy if we walk along.
But we can walk.
They're bringing the antique fire engine. The council members are riding on the antique fire engine.
And candy throwers.
Yeah.
All right, well, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Are you going on the parade?
Yeah.
So we're meeting at the rec center.
Correct, that's where the
Yeah.